Good morning everybody, Chris Legendary Customs. We're going to go over real quickly how to put in a 4-link rear suspension. A lot of different tutorials out there on this. We just want to make a quick one so you know step by step how to do it. The first thing you do is you find your ride height. On this particular project, we're cheating because we left the springs in place. They're loose, but it gives us the exact ride height that we're looking for because we're not looking to deviate from the factory. So the springs are holding the axle at the height that we want it. Some guys will actually take and weld a pipe from the frame to the axle to hold it where they want, and that's perfectly fine too. But since we have the springs to assist us at the perfect ride height, that's what we use. Assemble your 4-link suspension. If you purchase one, have it all assembled. The first thing that you do is you find the angle of your drive shaft. This should be 1 to 3% at maximum. So have an angle reader. We had to tilt this back because we had to move the engine back in the bay 9 inches, which changes the axle angle. So we had to rotate this from where it is in the factory. But again, 1 to 3% right at your U-joint. After you have that, you take a level, and on this set of 4-link, it's really nice because they have a level spot back there, and you literally level these off perfectly, straight up and down, perfect level, and then you tack them into place. We've already done this. 2 tacks hold it perfectly. Then we boxed in the frame up here. Where you box it in, we use 1/4-inch steel. We want it really strong. We don't want it to flex and roll on you. Box it in approximately where your landing is going to be for the front of the 4-link suspension. Again, this is perfectly vertical. This you want perfectly horizontal. So that's right on the money. This is right on the money. Then, we haven't done this yet, then you're going to tack these in place. I can't stress this enough. To get to this point, we probably measured everything 3 or 4 times. Your starting point is right here. Has to be perfectly straight. So you want to measure from here to here, or a common point. Same on this side. That point is going to have the same distance from here to here. You don't want your 4-link to be off like this because it's not going to ride as nice up and down. So again, we have this right where we're supposed to have it. Perfectly horizontal level, vertical level. Tack it. You're pretty much good to go. Now, up in the front, don't have these bottomed out. We have these out approximately 3/4 of an inch. That way, if something is wrong, you have some adjustment to roll that axle. If you have these bottomed out, you can, of course, move them out. So that will change the position of the axle. But if one is bottomed, you can't roll the axle just in case this is not 1 to 3%. It's really important this is 1 to 3% at the axle, because if it's 4, 5, 6 or higher, it'll work. It's just going to really wear out that U-joint much quicker. Again, 1 to 3% give you maximum life, perfectly horizontal, perfectly level, vertical, and that's what you need. So we're going to tack this into place back here, weld it home, and then we'll put in the Panhard bar, and we'll show you that next. But this is the basic setup of what we need. And this all comes together, the kit that we use, everything is there. What we did remove from our kit is where the shocks mount to. We're going to mount those directly to the axle. With this particular frame, we had to turn this upside down from where it typically is. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that this frame on this side would have dropped these way down, and it wouldn't have been a good situation for riding. Anyway, this will give you the optimum setup to go forward. So that's where we are now. Let's tack them home, measure again, and then weld them home. All right? That's the first couple steps. Okay, we went through how to put in the 4-link. Measure, measure, measure. I can't stress how important that is. Okay, so the next step after the 4-link is putting in the shocks. We are using, in this case, Alden shocks. They're made here in the United States. They come from California. Up front, we have, believe it or not, 500 pounds, which is kind of heavy, but for what's in there, this is a 13.5-inch shock. They have a chart. You want it to ride at 12.5 inches to 12 inches. So you want 1 inch to 1.5 inch compression when you put the weight on it. And this, at 500 pounds, gave us exactly 2 inches of compression. So we actually had to put the spring up a little bit more to raise it up what we needed. So now on the back, we're going to use the exact same springs, except not 500 pounds, 200 pounds, because the back all we have is a box. So you set it up at your ride height. In this case, 12.5 inches. Have your bars cut, and then that will allow you to mount your shock mounts. Line it up, take measurements off the frame so you know you have the clearance for your shock, and you're golden. Literally, you can have these shocks, in the book it says up to 35 degrees, I believe. The more that it's at an angle, the less it can compress. So we actually are putting these in right on the money, horizontal up and down, and left to right. So she's plumb and she's square to what's going on. That should give us a really, really good quality ride, and that is what we're going for here. The springs are going to be gone, so we're going to have 2 coilovers back here. We're going to have the 4-link. Now, on the 4-link, remember how I said I cut off the shock mounts? We did. That is normally right there. But because this is set up on a 4-wheel drive vehicle, and most of these systems are set up for something that you slam to the ground, we actually had to flip this upside down. So then the shock mount, as you can see, there's not enough distance here. You'd had a really extremely short shock, and we wanted to have the same quality in front as in the back for ride height. So 13.5-inch shock, 12.5-inch ride height. So that we cut off. Now, the Panhard Bar, we're actually going to put back in that area. For the 4-link and the Panhard Bar, the longer you can have these, the better your quality of ride is going to be. So we're going to weld that in. The Panhard Bar will come across here. You want it perfectly horizontal at ride height. So that's going to come across here, and we're going to hook it in way over here. So you're going to have almost the inside of the shock to the outside of the shock for travel. Again, the longer that is, the less it will push your axles left to right as you're going down the road, and the better quality ride you're going to get. If you had your Panhard Bar, you know, 1.5 feet, just like this, then that curve, the circle, is going to be much quicker, and it's going to move in a quicker fashion, your axle left and right, and things are just going to be binding up, and it's just not going to be a quality ride. So we're going to have our Panhard Bar way over here. So everything's working out perfect. Couldn't be happier with the way it's going. This is a heavy tube chromoly that we use typically in a roll cage, so it's going to handle the shocks without any problem whatsoever. So that's where we are so far. So we'll get these tacked into place, and we'll show you how to do that with the horizontal Panhard Bar, and we'll go forward. Okay, now we're on the Panhard bar. Before you make any weld on any material that has any thickness, this is 1/4 inch steel, you want to literally grind away a bevel of about half of the material on both sides that you're welding together. That way you always have proper penetration. You want it as hot as you can get it without melting the steel away and blowing in a hole, but you get proper penetration all the way through. So we beveled here, beveled here, beveled here, cleaned off all of the paint. Don't try to level your Panhard bar off of just this area. It'll never be straight. And if it is straight, you got lucky. Use the whole Panhard bar, because if you have 3 foot hanging out there and that's straight, then this little 1 inch area is definitely straight. Put your level on there, and as soon, and the guys are at lunch, so I'm going to have to turn the camera off and tack this, and then we'll turn the camera back on. But as soon as that's perfectly level, that is exactly where you want to tack it. Now, don't even worry about the length of this yet. The other side of the Panhard bar is going to come down here. We're going to cut this, put the end on, it's a threaded end, and then it will be all together. Make sure you always have clearance from your pumpkin. You don't need clearance for shocks going up and down, because it's going to ride with everything. It's all connected, but always make sure that you have clearance. So that will go there, the other end will go over here, and we'll be set up. Remember, ride height, perfectly horizontal. If it's at an angle, it's not going to ride as good as if it's horizontal. So I can't stress that enough. Measure 3, 4, 5 times. Keep your levels right in front of you, use them, and then you're golden. Awesome. On to the next step. I'll tack this, then we'll come back. I'll show you where we are and go forward. Well, for the Panhard bar that goes in here, this is set again for something that's normally slammed to the ground. We don't need that much. We only need 5 inches. So right where we're going to cut it off, there's nothing supporting it. So we're going to box in this, keep this all strong. Panhard bar will drop in there. I'm probably going to box in this side too. And then we are golden. Awesome. I'll cut this, notch it, make it, and we'll cut this. It can't get any stronger than that, and you can't get any longer. This thing's going to ride like beautiful. And we're cutting this out. Gonna go up the side of the frame, weld it on. It'll be stronger than all get out. Beautiful. After you get everything set up at your ride height, this should be perfectly horizontal on both sides, the same height. So when you're hitting bumps and such, that's where you're gonna get the least amount of arc or movement back and forth as this goes up and down. We left our Panhard bar really long as we could. It's going to be a little bit over 3 feet, so there's going to be very little movement left to right in the distance that this travels up and down. Everything is finished up. Just wanted to go through the final setup with you so you can see exactly how it turned out. Panhard bar at ride height is perfectly horizontal. The 4-link, perfectly horizontal. And now this bad boy is set at 3 degrees. So the Panhard Bar, we're over 36 inches. So we're gonna have a real long sweep on that. The shorter it is, the quicker the movement is. You want it as long as possible. This is 36 inches. We did change the end over here, so it will both on this side and this side be able to pivot without binding. So we just changed that 90 degrees, so it's all good. But this is the final setup. Got a little bit of grinding to do, a little bit of cleaning up to do of the welds, but then when this is all media blasted and then powder coated, it's gonna look really, really slick. Again, our ride height is 12.5 inches. That's what it's set up for. Remember, take your springs, whatever they are, figure out your ride height from the spring manufacturer with what's in the calculations, and set everything up at that height. Then when you put it back all together, we should be good. Anyway, long and short, this is a quick 4-link tutorial, so you know exactly how to put it in, just for a reference of what to do. Chris and Trevor from Legendary Customs, based out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. I got to admit, this one was a bitch, but in the end, she turned out really nice, and this ride will be better than Cadillac style. All right, thank you for tuning in. Remember, like us down below, follow us on our YouTube channel, please subscribe, follow us on Facebook, and please follow us on our Instagram. Each and every one of you appreciated. See you at the next episode.